Yeah. Okay. I'd like to call to order Monday, September 16, 2024 City Council meeting. If you rise for Pledge of Allegiance, 7 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance by the United States and to the Republic and one nation, God, indivisible, peace and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Okay. We have Council President Miller online here in a few minutes. Everyone else is present. Everybody had a chance to look at tonight's agenda. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Council Bailey.
so moved.
Councilor Bailey, motion to approve the agenda. Any seconds? Second by Councilor Santiago. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have public comment. Okay. Great. Let me go ahead and read this then. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to council regarding any matter not on the agenda and not scheduled for public hearing. Members of the public addressing council are requested to give their name and city of residence. I think that's good for tonight. We are online with Amy from Run with Neil, if I'm right.
Hi, my name
Yes.
is Amy Prince. I live in Scappoose. Thank you for having me virtually. I apologize for that. I am a board member with Run with Neil, and as many of you know, we are a local nonprofit committed to breaking down barriers, providing youth with resources for mental and physical well-being, as well as a place where young people have improved access to opportunities that promote their holistic well-being. An exciting development in the last year was the launch of the Run with Neil Scholarship Program, where we awarded 3 graduating seniors with a scholarship of $1,000 apiece. We want to personally invite all of you to our annual community run on Saturday, October 12th at Scappoose High School. The community run starts at 9 a.m. with a 5K, 3K, and a 1K route. We will have face painting, music, vendors, and just a fun, spirited morning. We are excited because this year we are partnering with the Scappoose High School cross country team to put on the first Run with Neil Invitational after the community run. Right now, we are anticipating 300-ish runners for that invitational, so that's really exciting. So hopefully we can reach some more youth with our mission. We hope to see all of you there crossing that finish line and cheering on all of our young runners, and maybe even the city council can register as a team. Thank you for having me. And if you want more information, our website is runwithneil.org. And we can't wait to see you on October 12th.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy running that. Unfortunately, this time out of town, but maybe virtually. You did have a virtual run available as well.
We
correct?
still do.
Yeah.
It's still
Good.
on the website that way as well. So
Great. That's going to be a good day, especially tying up with cross country. It should be a big event.
Yes,
Thank you. Any more public comment? Okay, good. Okay, moving on to, thank you, Amy. Moving on, consent agenda is August 19th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes and approval of a water connection outside city limits at 30371 Dutch Canyon Road. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilor Holmes to approve the consent agenda as written. Any seconds?
Seconded.
Second by Council Bailey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we got a new guy here. Let's see, Ben Bergener. All right, we've got, let's see, he's on the spot here. Number 2, LOC priorities. City Manager Ben Bergener is taking the lead on this.
Right. So this is just brought to the council. First of all, thank you. I'm excited
Welcome.
to be here. League of Oregon Cities does this every other year to go over kind of their priorities of what they're going to lobby the legislature for. So they meet together, have committees from across the state come up with some 23 priorities, and they send that out to each city to vote on what would be the top 5 that they should, I mean, they're going to focus on all of them, but really what are the top 5 that they should focus most of their time on. They usually send this out in July-ish time, and you usually have a couple months to kind of look through this. As to I'm new here, it hadn't been done yet, so this is our last opportunity if the city of Scappoose wants to vote on these. So I have provided in the packet or to the council, I sent this out ahead of time just so we could get some votes. We have it tabulated each person what they voted for. And I just wanted to speed up the process today to help the council. The table that you have in front of you has what in green were kind of the top 4 that had the most votes. The way I did this, I took the most votes with just the city council, and then I also have it with city staff. Staff, we just put all of our votes into one basket and added it as a second option there just to give the council some context. The top 4 green ones kind of were across the board, whether it was with the council alone or included with the staff, of being infrastructure funding, restoration of recreational immunity. Those were definitely the top 2. Investment in community resiliency and climate planning resources, and community safety and neighborhood livability. The 5th one was a little more vague depending on how you went with total votes with the staff or scoring. The scoring, all I did is I went in reverse from 10 to 1. Scored it depending on the priority you gave. The council did mention that some of them did not put them in order, so maybe the scoring isn't as reliable. Just looking at the total votes, if that would be the case, then it would look that maybe funding and expanding public and inter-community transit could be an option, or the 2025 transportation package. Include staff in those, probably the next 2. So up to the council to formally decide which 5 and to discuss those and to motion to send those on to League of Oregon Cities.
We're only choosing 5.
Yes, as a council, we can only pick 5.
My first thought is then if we're pretty aligned on 4, and I think staff is kind of aligned on those as well, that maybe I would personally maybe look at what staff's next highest one is, or are we missing something that they see that we don't?
Yeah, that next one with the staff vote would be the 2025 transportation package. For those 3. 2 other things that the staff did vote for: operator and training. Didn't get a lot of votes from the council for that, because in public works, there's a lot of, or even public works, just trying to get people trained and certified. It takes quite a long process. The transportation package is on there. Have the other ones pretty well voted for. Housing production kind of goes in there. So yeah, that would be probably that next one would be that transportation package if you're going by the staff recommendation.
So I do have a question. Would the transportation package bring us any money for better safety on Highway 30 or improvement of traffic on Highway 30 or?
Yeah, we pull out.
Does look like great streets, safe roads to school, which we've had people come out. We did get a grant to do that study. Unfortunately, we don't qualify, I guess, based on our economic, socioeconomic. But I would think that that's what that would help us maybe qualify, especially with the rail and highway. Might be some funding that could help us there.
Yeah, it does cover mostly those. I mean, the ones they pulled out were small city allotment, which we don't qualify for, the safe routes to school. But there are other projects that it talks about just in general, trying to figure out better funding for their transportation network. And some of those funds do come towards our city as well, depending on what those funding sources end up to be.
Public safety too. I mean, that might help with sidewalks, bike routes, trails, connecting our parks.
Right, and we do get shared revenue as well with gas tax, and it's talking about some of that transition, diesel tax, weight mile tax. So some of those should also be forwarded to the city through shared revenue.
Yes.
So I do want to emphasize that it does say long-term. my question is what considered long-term? Second, it says on paragraph, it says in addition, the package should find a long-term solution. Should, so it's just very vague.
Right. I think they don't quite know everything that's going to be involved in that. It's such a big, when I worked with ODOT, I was part of the Northeast Area Committee of Transportation, Commission of Transportation. When they're talking about the funding package, just in general, ODOT funding they've been hit quite a bit with the reduction in gas tax and other areas. So to make themselves whole, so just their funding in general is struggling, and that makes it hard for any of their programs, whether for small or big cities. I mean, they've looked at different ways to start cutting some of the programs for bigger cities of their shed revenue. And so it is quite a big package. I don't think it's super specific, but they really want to focus on try to narrow that and figure out how to better fund station networks.
That, being said, I personally would lean more into more specific fund, transit fund, which would be the funding and expanding the public and inter-community summit transit. And that is more focus and expanding funding of public transit operations statewide. And I really like that it's allowed to use funds for local operation maintenance, transportation here, local back. So that's being huge for SCAP to be able to commute back. So for me, it just makes more sense locally, but
Would that money go to the CC Rider? Manage that? I don't know if we would be a recipient of that.
I don't know that answer, but
Yeah, you typically go to whatever agencies are providing that service. If the city started
maybe-
doing that service, there'd probably be a funding.
But we're looking at programs, the LOC is gonna focus their money, their lobbying
Yep.
to go after. And yeah, I mean, right now, we don't seem to have much, I mean, we don't have a lot of call out. I haven't been getting a lot of calls to work on our community transit program.
When I was working in the city, I missed CC Rider because I took it all the time for back and forth. I said, going through these, this is more aspirational and directional than specific. Like going through these, it's definitely not we have a package that we specifically want to go with. It's more of of all the cities they vaguely want to focus in this direction, can we hone in a bit more on the edges? Because I think all of these / none of these might apply specifically to us, especially given our income bracket and size. So it's hard to say. I tend to lean towards staff recommendation on the last one, just because all of them are pretty close. Like I'm more than happy with any of them.
So, I looked through these, my assessment, I was leaning more towards funding and expanding public and intercommunity transit. Full rider, and that we potentially. The 2025 transportation package that this seemed a little bit more tangible, like the action taken. And there's already established mechanization for this revenue source. So I
Got it.
towards community transit.
I mean, it's right there too on votes. It's not like it's way off.
Right. And
So, I
really,
mean, I'm personally
where the
fine.
council wants to go is
Good with that.
What's the? I'm paying attention. I had both of those rings pretty far up there. I can't help but state, like everything I've heard about the, CC Rider and stuff, while some people do use it, it's just, I don't know if there's ever gonna be a model that works for the needs of our community. So I was leaning towards the 2025 transportation package because we have a major highway going through our community. Do have a lot of work with safe routes to school, things like that. So I'm fine with either. having said
I'm hoping that the community safety and neighborhood livability is going to be kind of covered in our local, our transportation sidewalks, safe routes, those type of things potentially. I have heard, the CC Rider has had cutbacks and had issues over the years and that might be because of funding and this would really help them. Tyler, have you had a chance to look at this at all? And do you have any preference on that? If you would have to rank your top 5, is either one of those in there?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't have the time with travel to be able to look at this, and I had internet issues over the last week too. But I'm in agreement with the majority looking at these on what the priority should be.
Are we okay then with funding and expanding public and inter-community transit? Good. Is that enough, or do you want a formal vote?
So a motion, yeah, a formal motion for these top 5.
Okay, I have I'm looking for a motion. What we have now is, I guess we can list them as number 1, number 5, number 9, number 19, and number 21. It's kind of our top 5: infrastructure funding, restoration of recreational immunity, investment in community resilience and climate planning resources, funding and expanding public and inter-community transit, and community safety and neighborhood livability. We have a motion to recommend those 5, the city manager to send to LOC.
So moved.
Councilor Bailey makes a motion to, for that. Is any second? By Councilor Santiago. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Ben, for doing the homework.
Welcome.
Saved a lot of time.
Really did.
are we good to move, or did you have something else we were gonna go over in this section?
No, this section, we're good to go.
Okay. We had brought this up. Sheriff Pixley had come and spoke to our meeting about a sheriff levy. Chief Llewellyn has given a little information on that. So we looked at it and we provided, thank you, Council President Miller, for helping with this, but felt we had at least significant interest in looking at a resolution, learning more about it. So hopefully we've had some time to dig in and ask questions and learn more about this resolution. And so in front of you, there is a resolution number 2414, a resolution in support of measure 5-302, a measure brought by the Columbia County Board of Commissioners for a tax levy to renew the 4-year jail operating tax levy. Anybody have any questions or discussion about it or thoughts? If I remember right, Tyler, you can help me too. The current, like it says here, is 58 cents. They're looking to pass a levy that will increase to 79 cents when the 59 cents expires, has expired. It's a 4-year levy.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, all that is correct. And previously, in the last election, they had applied for a more significant rate, and they have reduced it on this second try. And as we heard Sheriff Pixley tell us when he joined the last council meeting, the needed rate increase is due to a very significant increase in medical costs and food services contract costs as well.
Can I
Pretty
ask a
familiar.
question?
Yes.
Can you remind me, is this just to keep it how it's running currently? That's what I remember, not necessarily expanding services or beds, right?
That is correct. All of the information that's been out there by the county commissioners and the sheriff all have indicated and specifically stated that this is to keep the jail operating at its current basic staffing level and capacity. It's not to increase anything.
I personally, yeah, looked into this and talked to people and believe that it's very important that we keep the jail available as it is. I think it helps our local city as well as the county. That's why I thought of bringing this up and asking to see if you were interested. So is there anybody interested in this resolution?
Would be happy to make a motion that council adopt resolution 24-14, a resolution in support of measure 5-302, a measure brought by the Columbia County Board of Commissioners for tax levy to renew the 4-year jail operating tax levy.
Motion by Counselor Holmes to support the Columbia County Measure 5-302 or Resolution 2414 in support of Measure 5-302, measure brought by the Columbia County Board of Commissioners for a tax levy to renew the 4-year jail operating tax levy. Any seconds? Second by Counselor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Will you, I guess we'll notify Columbia County Board of Commissioners. Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow. I'm sure we can tell them. Okay. Record setting meeting. We are on to the calendar. We're already at September 16th. So we do have an EDC meeting noon on Thursday, September 19th. Hopefully followed by a Parks and Rec meeting at 6 p.m. Yes? Perfect. Thank you. No meeting Thursday night at 6. Farmers Market, still the last 2 Saturdays in September, 9 to 2. There is an Out of Darkness walk Saturday night. Late Saturday night.
What is that?
There was no time on this. I remember seeing signs. I thought I'd be out there walking at midnight, but it's more out of the darkness, right? 7 a.m. Out of darkness.
No, I
7
can
a.m.?
tell you what to do. You can.
So I
do
got to
it.
make sure though, is that Saturday morning at 7-ish, not Sunday morning. Okay. Okay. There's signs all over the highway. I meant to look at them closer. Let's do that.
Situational awareness, 10 and 2.
We do have on here September 30, 2024, 6 p.m., the remand public hearing for Luba case 2023-001 Buxton Ranch Plan Development and Subdivision is scheduled for 6 p.m. on September 30th here in the council chambers. And then October 7th, work session, council work session, 6 p.m., followed by council meeting at 7 p.m. Thursday, 17th of October, EDC at noon, followed by Parks and Rec at 6 p.m. October 21st, council work session at 6 p.m., council meeting at 7 p.m. We do have the city county dinner at 6 p.m. on October 22nd at the senior center, and the planning commission scheduled for October 24 at 7 p.m. Okay, we are at this time of the, when we hand it over to departments and updates, and we start with our city manager.
So thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a lot has been going on over the last 2 weeks. It's been exciting to meet with each council member as well as a lot of people in the community. There are a lot of great projects going on with the city staff as well. A lot that they are doing, and it's been a thrill to get to know them better and to work with them and see how much they're doing and how they're putting their hearts into what they do. So we have a good staff, good council, good city. I'm excited to be here. For the first order of business, we had sent out an email. And normally I wouldn't recommend typically involving council in a hiring panel unless it was more with the director level. But after talking with Chris, and just because of the rebuild of the police department, they have a sergeant hiring panel that he's looking to get a council member on. I told him I'd be okay with, inviting a council member if there was interest in there, or maybe the mayor to jump in on that, just to kind of be part of, especially since it's a leadership position, that will help build that culture, continue to build the culture with Chris and with Ron and the other staff there. So I told him I'd be happy to bring it forward and see if there was a council member interested in that. Just one. There are other people in the hiring panel, so it's just one of many.
Do you have a date?
Was that Chris?
Yes, ma'am. I believe I have it set for November 13th of this year. I'll be here in the city council.
I'd be honored to sit in on that and be part of that. I'll definitely check the schedule and make sure, but that at this time looks good.
Yeah, and we
Only need one.
need one probably for the panel.
All right, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, and then if my schedule
All right.
doesn't work. then
Everyone's okay with that? I'll have Joe.
And
And then if you don't, have
Yeah.
a second.
nice just to see, the transparency there and be part of it and be nice to learn it myself. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and yeah, as you mentioned with transparency, as I had the opportunity to go around, meet with staff, a couple of topics kept bringing up. And as a new city manager, it's exciting to come through because we kind of get to reset the groundwork and the base of where we're at. We have goal setting coming up, December, January time, kind of discussing how the council wants to go forward with that. We've done a facilitator in the past. Some of the members mentioned they'd be okay with maybe not doing a facilitator, just taking over as the council. We don't have to make I'm not looking for any decisions today, but that was just kind of a general topic that was brought up to start thinking about as we get close to that, if we think we can handle that ourselves internally or facilitation. I've heard positives for both. I don't think there's a good yes or no on that. It's just more of how the council wants to proceed with that. Without a facilitator, we'd still do a similar thing, go through a work session or retreat and have the council come up with, get reports from the staff, what the recommendations, but really it is supposed to be a council goal. What goals do we want to do? And it doesn't have to be every project that the staff's already doing, but looking at the overall vision of where the city needs to go and mentioning those, key 5 or 6 areas and kind of what priorities, if those are still the same ones, or if we want to move towards anything else. Another thing that we had mentioned, and I'll go into my other topics, is just the council rules. They have those, it looks like codified as part of the code as opposed to a resolution, which is perfectly fine. But it sounds like it's been a while since we probably updated those. It'd be good to go through as a council, just to go through those rules of procedures, see if there's anything to be changed, if there's anything that needs to be reminded of what maybe the council is or isn't doing. And really it's for the council's benefit to be consistent, be transparent, and to help the staff have that direction as well of what expectations there are. 2 of those topics that came up, the first one was Oregon Public Meetings Law. There's a lot of changes, not a lot of changes, but updates. The Oregon Ethics Committee mission took over some of that, and they're doing training. So there'll be some trainings coming up that are required annually for that. But just as a quick reminder on those, I went to the Department of Justice website and picked out some high level things. And like I say, just because we now have a city administrator or a city manager here, whereas sometimes without that, it's easier to be a lot more involved in stuff. I included that in one of the handouts I gave you, just my copy has disappeared. So I just wanted to go over those real quick. I'll just read them in general, or you can read through them in more detail. But once again, this is mostly for the council. This is the council's rules set by the state, that really if there's a violation of any of this, it falls on the council. The council when it gets a civil fine up to like $1,000 on some of these things. So they talk about serial meetings. They talk about what a public meeting is. And one of the updates that they did do in this last year or two is they talked about how it's not just the deliberations and the decisions, but even the information gathered is really subject to open meetings or public meeting law. And so the importance to make sure that all aspects from beginning to end are really done in public setting, whether it's a committee meeting or a council meeting, where those are notified properly and the community has an opportunity to always be aware of what those discussions, deliberation, and information finding are from the council as a whole. One of the notable things that I read on here, it even talked about, because oftentimes it's like, well, the law says, well, only if there's a quorum, for the quorum. But there's also a high risk with serial meetings when there's smaller numbers. And one of the recommendations, it's just a recommendation, a best practice that I wanted to share. It says, and it's in the middle paragraph here, a gathering of less than a quorum of a governing body is not a meeting. However, members of a governing body should not gather as a group or groups composed of less than a quorum for the purpose of conducting business outside the public meetings law. Such a gathering creates the appearance of impropriety and runs contrary to the policy of public meetings law, which supports keeping the public informed of the deliberations of governing bodies. In addition, such a gathering creates a risk of violating ORS 192-630 through serial communications as discussed below. It was just one of those best practices. Once again, there's always a lot of risk when, even when two council members are talking, if then they talk to anybody else, there's a violation. And, you know, I guess it's only an issue if somebody makes it an issue. But while there are times of, as I was talking to the mayor, you know, right now is a really great time because the council's in a great spot. There's not really a lot of conflict or anything like that. It's best to set these ground rules so in case or when in the future, if there is future conflict, we're all playing by the same rules. One thing that I did mention with that, just as another best practice, is not just about the law, but when you're talking with council in general for, you know, team building as a council, oftentimes when councilors start talking outside of meetings, they start to form groups or, you know, kind of inner lobbying, which can make it hard to really deliberate in a meeting when there's already teams of decisions being made. Also make for a more hostile discussion as well. So that's just informational as we go through council, the council rules updates. That's going to be something we can look into. Is the current policy where we want to be, or do we want to be more conservative and take that? What I've really seen in other councils that the mayor has instituted is, you know, it's just best to even avoid the appearance of that. Let's not, just avoid all conversation. City business, obviously social meetings are fine. It's just city related business. Don't really get involved with another councilor outside of council meetings as a typical best practice to avoid any of that appearance for the public. And like I said, there's also the team building that is impacted by that. It actually helps build a team in a better way. So any questions? Like I said, just informational. It's something that came up a lot in the discussions, and I thought I would start that conversation as a new city manager. The second one we talked about even in interviews, and as I talked to each of you, is just, you know, that relationship, resetting that relationship with staff, kind of what's that look like from the city manager compared to the council. Oftentimes pretty easy to get in the weeds as a council member. You come in, especially when you own a business, or, you know, most of you are professionals, have a lot of stuff and a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills. So it's really easy to want to come in and want to fix things or have your own ideas, which is great. But as a council, you work as one, as a group. And really that role does fall on the city manager for operations side. So setting those clear expectations or reminding what you've done in the past as well, that to try to funnel all things through me, not to go to department heads. Obviously you can talk to department heads, but just make sure I'm aware of that. For some of the reasons for that is just sometimes I already have all the information. Or number two, it helps me make sure that I have the information that you need. And then I can also spread that out to other council members to make sure they all have the same information. So just operationally, it's a lot more effective to make sure it comes through me, just so I can be a better manager for you guys. The second side of that is in the reverse, where staff, oftentimes you'll get members, it's easy to become a small community, friends with staff. And as an administrator, or even as you probably experience in your own place of work, if you have relationships too down, it's really hard for that manager to manage or to hold people accountable if they feel that that person is going to run to the council member or their boss to put them in a really awkward situation. So best practices in there is typically, and what I would hope to work with the council on is, you know, if a staff member ever comes to you, make sure that they're honoring the chain of command. Say, hey, have you talked to your manager? And not to get involved in HR type things or other operations. And if they do, just shoot me a message, let me know that they came and talked to you. And just so you know, the reverse is true too. The staff knows that, you know, if you guys come talk to them, they let me know to keep me up informed. And that's a good way to go about it. If that ever happens, like I'm not always available, I get it. And sometimes you need information our way. I'm not so crazy about that. It's just good communication, a good relationship. Try to funnel that as best you can so that I can best serve you guys. Any questions on that, or?
I do have some. Ashley Driscoll's online too, if you guys have any questions. She's going to
Okay.
get her executive session in a minute, but she's here too. So if you see anything, Ashley, that you can add on, especially with the meetings and what's been happening out there, what's kind of the buzz on the street about this, Great, but this does also extend to our committees as well, correct? Like our Parks and Recs, our EDC, because we're always trying to just, how can they communicate with each other? Can they communicate outside? And we just got to be careful and maybe learn and dig into this a little bit more of can they give information in groups of 2 or 3 and through emails, or, we always start talking about do not reply all. If someone wants some information, don't reply all. But this does kind of involve any city business, whether it's through committees or us.
Right, and typically a best practice if you're trying to get something out, work through the city manager, because I'm not subject to public meeting law. I could be if we try to go subvert the law and say, hey, Tyler or Ty and Tyler, you guys told me that, tell Kim that this is what we, that would probably not pass the sniff test there. But but in general, I can get the information stuff. I can reach out, just like we did with these priorities, just kind of get those votes, keep it really informational, and send that out and provide it in the council meeting is a great way to go. And same thing with the committees, work with those liaisons or the staff members. They can usually do a lot of that communication out there and help provide that you're looking for. If it is situational. Once again, it's about the intent of what's going on. If there's something that's really, hey, we need to go out and get this information, there's going to be 2 of you that do it, and it was assigned by the, we just need to take a look at that. What is the purpose? Is it really a decision-making informational? Is it part of the deliberations, or is it a matter of, hey, we assigned you guys to go get some grants, so can you go talk to some businesses? Like work together and talk to some businesses. That's not really going towards deliberations or a decision or recommendation to the council. It's more of just a going and doing an activity. So, yeah, Ashley, do you have anything to add to that?
Good evening, Council. Ashley Driscoll, City Attorney's Office. Nope, just a couple highlights to what you've already gone over, Ben. So Ben was absolutely correct. There's been some changes to Oregon public meetings laws. They're now under the auspices of the Oregon Government Ethics Committee. And the law has changed to also include a dispute resolution process if there's an allegation of a public meeting violation. And the last step in that is the OGAC is drafting some new OARs. They're in the rulemaking process, and we anticipate those rules to be finalized by the end of the year. So our office will definitely be putting out some updates regarding the change in the law regarding the Oregon public meetings laws. I'm sure League of Oregon Cities will be putting out some information as well. So just watch for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. Any questions? I have 2 more items, other topics, but any more questions on what we've covered thus far?
I just have a question. Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah.
It would be, for example, earlier invited us to
Amy?
Amy came earlier and to invite us council to
Right.
as a group run with Neil. You wouldn't be able to do that.
No, you can. So social events, perfectly fine. It's when you're talking specifically about city business. Any discussions, deliberations, or information about city business specifically. But social gatherings, trainings, those are exceptions to the rule, and you can definitely go out and do those things as a part of the community.
We'll do the city-county dinner. Just be careful that 3 of you 4, are in the corner talking about city business.
Correct, yeah.
Get out and talk about personal issues.
Yeah, when it really comes down to if there was ever a complaint, and it is on the summary I gave you, the Oregon Department of Justice says it just errs on the side of transparency. So if there really was the view that you're trying to get around transparency or try to decide stuff out, that's when it really becomes an issue. But intent goes into that, the topic goes into that, subject matter goes into that. Social meetings are perfectly fine. You can sit at the same table, you can still talk, you can whatever, be friends, go play tennis. All that stuff is perfectly fine. It's just the city business specific is kind of that barrier. And so just for your own self too, if you're involved in that, it's good to remind each other, so for example, Jeanette, if Kim came and talked to you or Ty and you're like, oh, that's great. You wouldn't want to be part of an allegation if Ty then went talk to 2 other people and you just thought you were the only person there. And then all of a sudden there's a violation, you're all getting fined. And you're like, oh crap, I didn't mean that. But you're part of that group. Not saying that has happened. That's just kind of how easy it can happen. And that's why it's usually just the best practice to avoid, because it's quickly able to snowball into a serial meeting on accident. Usually well-intentioned. There are obviously councils out there. I've been in one where that wasn't an accident. It was very, very purposeful to avoid that. And it really caused a lot of damage. But yeah,
clarify, it's not
question.
necessarily at the same time, but it can be with Andrew, and then I meet with Marissa right after.
Correct. It could be over,
Yeah.
it could be over the month. It doesn't have to be, it's the same topic, trying to get it. Well, yeah, just trying to get information. It's almost like trying to make a decision or gather information about a decision that you're almost lobbying for something so that you come in, there's really not a discussion that is a useful discussion in council meetings so that the public can't really see how you came to that decision because it was all done behind closed doors. And that's where the intent of the public meetings law is to make sure that the public has exposure or the ability to see how the decision-making process was done, including the
If
information.
it's a complaint, it's what perceived, right? So the transparency part of it, never, I think, Ashley, we can, if it's perceived that we are having the same topic, that can be an issue. We're not that we're having, but it could be an assumption.
Counselor Santiago, I can't hear you that well. Could you speak into the mic?
Sure. I just wanted to say that because the word perceive has come up a couple of times and previously we've had meetings about perceivedness, things that are being perceived. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, even though we're not having the same conversation or the same topic, talking, I guess, is to avoid conversations outside because it could be perceived to be talking about the same topic. Is it that scrutiny or no?
Yeah, so there's two issues at play. One is perception, and that's more of a political issue. Our decision is their perception that decisions are being made outside of the public eye. And it's best, what Ben is saying is that you should take steps to avoid the perception that that is happening. However, that's not necessarily a legal issue. For it to be a legal violation, a number of elements have to be in place. First, the conversation, whether contemporaneous or through serial meetings, has to involve a quorum. The quorum of members have to be deliberating or discussing a matter that's later going to come before the council for a vote. So those are the legal elements that need to be present for you as a counselor to face any repercussions for that. What I think Ben is saying is that, there's a lot of gray area there, and you once you start having those conversations in private, even not among a quorum, you take a risk that your part in those conversations is going to be linked to other members of the council, and you're inadvertently going to violate the Oregon Public Meetings laws. So what I hear Ben saying is two issues. One is just perception. It's just, transparency and that the public has confidence that all decisions are being made in public. So that's one issue. And then the second issue is the risk of a legal violation.
Right, and you're right. And the third issue I mentioned, there's just the team of the council in general, because I have experience where it caused conflict interpersonally, where even when it's just even a smaller group, you start getting fractions of the council that start warring against each other, and that makes it hard when you feel like you got support behind you here, so you feel more empowered to be more aggressive about something. Not that you shouldn't have conversations in a council meeting, just coming in kind of hot and heavy because you feel like you've had those discussions. I've seen it cause a lot of that. And it does kind of sometimes, I have seen it tear down the fabric or the unity of a council. Yeah, a lot of it is political. It is just perception. It is just because even as Ash said, it's just Ashley mentioned, when you're talking with the public, you don't want that you guys are not transparent. And I don't think this council has that intent whatsoever. And I know you guys are very focused on making sure we are transparent. And that's why setting these up helps make sure that even the public can see that when that is fully the intent. As I mentioned, none of this has been any issue. This has just been discussions, and it's a great time to talk as I'm starting to make sure we're all on the same page here.
Like I see 605, even if a meeting is for the sole purpose of gathering information to serve as the basis for a subsequent decision or recommendation by a governing body, the meeting law will apply. So even if you're getting together just to discuss it, and then you come to a meeting, not everybody was privy to that discussion or that information. And so even like talking about our LOC priorities, since we did it as a vote and we did an approval, if we had gotten together to kind of talk about it, to understand what each one kind of meant and what we thought of each one, we really shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I mean, we could do that here. We could discuss it here and ask those. Now, if we have questions, because we will have questions on staff reports and stuff, we'll go to you and the staff and get clarification. And if you feel it necessary that all of us get that answer,
Right.
you'll then send it out to all of us.
correct.
And then if, like I asked about, topics for the county city dinner, is that a city business? We're deciding on maybe a topic, who we want to invite. Can we not talk about that in emails? And just to be safe is probably no. If you have someone, you send it, not reply all, just individually. And then we can discuss it after a meeting or you can. ask.
Right, yeah, I mean, that would probably be one of those gray areas, it's kind of like, where does that fall? Is it really gonna go to a public vote or anything, as Ashley had mentioned?
Probably right.
I don't know. It kind of is, you kind of deciding, that's one of those, it's just best to,
Best practice and
as opposed to having to get in the weeds and figure out, does this apply, does it not? It's just easier not to, because you have meetings twice a month. You have plenty of opportunity to come and meet together and discuss these things. We can do work sessions. I mean, like I say, you can work with me if we need to get something out there to gather information or get more information. There's definitely ways to still accomplish what you're looking for, but to avoid any perception or possible allegation of violating public meetings law.
thank you. Anything else?
The other two items, just questions for the council, staff reports, they've kind of been in and out. I've talked to my staff about that because one thing, once again, about transparency that I heard from each counselor was they'd like to know what's going on, whether financially, do we have the budget? What does that look like? How do you read it? And even for Public Works. So I did have Dave send me his last staff report, and I thought it was way too much in the weeds for the council. It was just a lot of information, probably took him way too long to put together. So I'm working with them, and if the council wants, you can tell me if you don't need these, but I was just looking more for the staff to probably once a month give a general high-level update of major projects that are going on in the city. So you know where we are with the well, where we are with the pumps or the streets or developments in the community. I mean, the Public Works and the CDC already meet once a month or once a week to go over updates. So they already have a high level already there. It shouldn't take very long to move that over into a council report. So I don't want them to take a lot of needless time unless it's needed for the council's stuff. But I do want the council to be able to stay informed and have that. So if you ever asked out in the community, you're like, oh yeah, I know where we're at with this, or there's a lot of cool things going on. Let me tell you about where we're at with that or what we've gone through. So
I think that's great. I do. If there is something that we hear from the community that we feel we want to know more about, we'll ask for it. Maybe
right.
If there is a project that we aren't seeing on the report that it's a short-term project, but it's causing a lot of delays in the traffic or something, maybe we'll ask for updates on that for a while.
Yeah, reach out anytime about anything right away. If you're meeting with somebody, I know Kim had somebody reach out about some of the construction issues. Yeah. And so she reached out, hey, let's talk about that. She wanted to get more information so she could talk to that constituent about what's going on. That's a great, come to me and let's talk through that and figure out what's going on. It's a great way to go. You don't need to wait till the council meeting. I have a open door policy for you guys. I'm willing to get back to you as much as possible, as soon as possible. And if it is something for the council, I'll send it out to everybody as well. Another question I was recently asked with recreational immunity, what do we need to do about that? They did codify some of that temporarily, this last legislation. They're going to be, as we noticed, they're looking at a permanent fix, this next one. So nothing really needed to be done at this one time, that we have temporary protections, but it is something that's a big priority to be aware of. Okay, the last item is just working with the attorney to kind of reel that in. I had heard that there was already the works to kind of cut back and make sure we're staying fiscally responsible and not just reaching out to the attorney. We used to have, or the city used to have a attorney on retainer or something where they could call out as much as they want, which that was a great option that they had. Current contract, we don't have that anymore. So what I've typically seen in the past, and talking with Ashley, she had recommended very similar guidance for the council to really, when working with the attorney and for the staff, to kind of funnel those through me as a city manager and the mayor. Those I've usually seen both ways, or it can be just the city manager. It does a couple things to send those questions our way. Number one, I might already have the answer. I may have gotten it from another city, or I may have already talked to Ashley or talked to the League of Oregon Cities, so I can quickly give that, so we don't need to, pay an attorney to get that answer again. Or it helps me get that information so I can pass it on to everybody. It just helps funnel that information, be a little bit more efficient, so I can get that information out and disseminate where we're at and rein in those costs a little bit. And I talked to several council members, they mentioned they understood and they're already planning on that. So any questions on that? Is that something everybody's okay
I think
with?
that's great. I would prefer maybe just to copy me, just in case I had heard it from someone else, and then maybe I could say, hey, we've already got this answer.
Right. I think for our purpose, me
Yeah.
and you, just send it to both of us or whatever, and we
I
can.
probably won't do a ton of research on it, and dig in through LOC unless
Right.
you tell me, hey, look this up. But
Yeah.
um,
So send it my way, and I'll reach out to Ashley if needed, or I'll respond if I have the information for you already, and we don't have to.
and I'm assuming that's kind of going through staff too. I mean, that's going to be the kind of the process.
Right. The staff needs to come through me as well. Typically, the best practice would be just let the city manager determine if he needs to go to the attorney or not. Depending on that. The other reason is not just because I have the information ready to have it, but I have a lot of resources that I can get information through other ways. The League of Oregon Cities already does a lot of this work. The CIS, we have attorneys that does a lot of work. Ashley is fantastic. I don't want to diminish the work that she does. I get great reviews from fellow city managers that use them, but we don't need to. Attorneys are expensive, so.
For their rate.
Actually, throw that
Prices
didn't
out.
are
hear
coming
that.
down. I
I
heard
didn't
prices
hear
are
that.
coming down.
You leaned away from the microphone on purpose on that one, right?
Moving into a tunnel.
Yeah.
That all sounds great. Like everything that you recommended, I'm fully aligned. That will do wonders for us.
Is the whole count, we're all pretty aligned on that? That sound good for everybody? Okay, so that's how I'll operate going forward, and if needed, send out reminders. But just want to make sure that that is what the council is on board with as well, so I can stay with that, so.
Yeah.
Okay. That is all I have.
Good. Thank you.
done.
You don't have to go in that depth every time if you want. I mean, you can put it on the meeting and talk about it in the meeting.
You
but
only get one first meeting,
I
so
know.
this
Sometimes they just give updates. Yeah,
Set the tone.
yeah.
We expect this every time now.
right.
He's limited to 8 minutes. No, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome to Scappoose. I hope you're doing well after 2 weeks. We've met several times and you've got it all figured out. It's good.
Working on it.
Now, next, Chief Llewellyn.
Yes, Council President and Mayor, good afternoon. Just a couple things. Last Friday, we went out to the Scappoose High School for First Responders Night, which is a good time. Our sister partner there, St. Helens Police Department, was a good time there as well. Fortunately, the part-timer we did have in the background, he decided to go to another job, unfortunately, from there. Exec protection, but we had a good conversation. I called him about a couple of things. He was really excited about coming here. He just got a better opportunity at the time on Portland Police Bureau. Mayor, thank you very much for sitting on the board. Looking forward to that and just kind of treat transparency with our police department. Try to do that through Facebook and social media where the citizens know what's going on within the police department around the city and things such that nature. Our officers are still working hard, still going through just trying to build up and continue training. A lot of joint training with St. Helens Police Department and other agencies and Columbia County particularly the past couple month or so. Just trying to really build that just going forward. So besides that, nothing else too major to report. Think any questions for the council?
What openings do we have right now that are still open and active then?
Very good question. So right now we have 3 patrol officers, fittings right now, a sergeant, and
Are we looking then the part-time one isn't open anymore after that?
I
You
have to
think
double check, sir. That was posted under interim chief of police Brian Jensen. I believe there's one position was still open on one of the websites. I have to double check.
three and then the sergeant?
Yeah, I would still prefer to try to, once we get to the sergeant position, is focus on trying to get a lateral officer. And just today internally to help with this process, because there's a lot of resources training new recruit, is trying to get people in our own police department to be field training officer besides yours truly is doing it, as you guys have seen me out there in the field probably. A lot of resources to do it correctly. And so trying to just expand that, get our base first, be more self-sufficient as a police department.
So you got sergeant, but no lieutenant is open. We're not looking, It's not an open position at this time.
No, I'm still here and.
Well, no, you're chief. You're
You know, you
number
never
eight.
know what the
I mean,
future holds here,
Well, if we
so.
want to solidify that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I appreciate what you guys have been doing. The Facebook, you guys put out a lot on there. I've heard good things from everybody. One constituent did say, it's all great, but you guys do other things than just police stuff. And so I'm looking, if you think of things that we do put some stuff out about the roads and construction and things, but if there's anything you think we should get out to our constituents on the website, Facebook page, let us know, or Susan, throw those in too to mix in, but keep up what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Lastly, thank you, council, for the support too. I know it's been busy. I'll be coming up in 2 years here in December at Scappoose and changing for the world. And it's been great. And thank you, Ben, for giving me the opportunity and privilege to be here as interim chief, whatever happens next. So awesome.
And I do just want to put a plug in for interim chief Chris. He's doing a phenomenal job. The reviews I hear from his staff, even the public, from other staff members, is just nothing but positive. The whole culture is changing. There's optimism, and it's just, there's a good light feel among the police department that sounds like hasn't been there for quite some time. So I just want to give kudos to interim chief Chris for the job that he's doing.
Sure. And it's all my team, and we get a lot of people doing ride-alongs more too coming through. So it's a roller coaster growing up. I just got to keep it going. So
I'll get with you, but October 23rd and 4th, the third graders are all going to come through City Hall and meet the mayor, and probably like to rather see you guys. So
we'll do it again.
Set up-
All with that. So we'll get the candy and stickers ready, sir. So
great.
thank you. That's all I have, Penny.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Susan? Counselor Bailey?
Yeah, this is my last meeting, so I wanted to just take a second and thank everyone for the years of working together. It's been an honor and a privilege, both as a counselor and as a committee member through the different committees. I think things are on a good track. It's been a lot of change in Scappoose in the last, decade, and I think we have a good direction going. So I feel like leaving the place better than I found it. So thank you all very much for putting up with me for a long time, specifically Susan.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Counselor Jacobs?
Gosh,
Uh-huh.
I'm sad that you're leaving. So Bailey, enjoyed our short time together. I wish you welcome, City Manager Ben. I'm ecstatic that you're here. I'm really looking forward to the work. Thank you.
you.
For joining us.
Thank you. Counselor LaFrance?
That's me. Thank you, Ty, for stepping in when literally very few tried to. So thank you for that. We wish you the best. Ben, welcome. We're excited to have you. Interim Chief Fluan, thank you. I want to thank you for responding. There's been an increase in the number of residents complaining, rightfully so, about the construction speeding and logging trucks on the MWATs and all the major roads. And you've been very proactive about dealing with that. So I want to thank you bringing in Deputy Goodwin and really looking out for the safety of our children. And a reminder to everyone out there, school's in session, sports are out there, just everybody slow down, take your time. It's not worth injuring anyone. So thanks.
Great. Thank you. Counselor Holmes?
Yeah, Counselor Bailey, wish you the best. Really, your long-term dedication to the city is admirable and much appreciated. So thank you for all your service. And Ben, welcome. I look forward to working with you. Hope the family is settling in well, and
Working on it.
yep, and glad Scappoose can be your new home.
Right.
I do want to thank the police department for their response at the high school last week. I think the situation, along with the Columbia County Sheriff's Department, was resolved in a way that was calm and had good outcomes for all. So thank you for that. And that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Counselor Santiago?
You took exactly my words out of my mouth. Tyler, Tyler. Oh my gosh. See, Ty, my brain is not, I'm not working today. It's not working today, but Ty, it was great to be working with you. I know I've worked with you in other committees, but we're going to miss you, the community, and hope you do come around and say hi.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll
Okay.
be about. You're
Okay.
not rid of me.
Interim chief, Chris, you've been fantastic, of course, and Ben has, you hear it, and you will hear it every week, I'm sure, every day, that you are doing a great job, and I hope you do become our permanent chief one day. So hopefully. Thank you for your hard work. And same thing I was going to ask, mention about the schools. Thank you guys for doing such a great job. And welcome. When you walked in and you had that interview at the high school, and the way you presented and you talked about you and your family as we, and you and your team, I knew like that's the guy, because me, it's like he's a collaborator. He is a person that likes to work in the community, and you embrace what I think we were looking for Scappoose. So welcome. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Another thing too is happy Hispanic Heritage Month. Started yesterday. It's from September 15th to October 15th. And so I wrote something. I want to invite you to all embrace and celebrate the rich and diverse culture of the Hispanic and Latino origins. This month offers the chance to reflect on many contributions our community has made in our country, Los Estados Unidos, United States. Rather than offering a detailed history, I encourage you all to explore for yourself and how the Hispanic heritage has enriched our nation through music, art, cuisine, theater, academia, and cultural traditions. From science advancement to creative achievement, the Hispanic Americans have played a pivotal role in shaping the U.S. as we know it today. We are also acknowledge those who came before us and who's paved the way for future generations. Today, I'm proudly wearing the Dr. Leela Downs t-shirt. She's an iconic Mexican-American singer and activist, best known for blending traditional Mexican music with modern genres and using her platform for champion indigenous rights and social justice. Her work transcends borders, reflecting the depth of beauty of Hispanic and Latino experience. As a first-generation Latina professional, I find myself not the only person of Hispanic descent in the room. This experience gives the emphasis on the importance of unity, especially in today's climate where respecting diverse perspective is more crucial than ever. This time of reflection and celebration, let's come together, not only to acknowledge our differences, but also honor and respect them. Our nation thrives on its diversity, and by standing together, we create a stronger and more inclusive future. Thank you. Gracias. And so for I won't get offended if you guys don't want anything. So want one, but I brought one for each of you council members, and there's one left, Tyler, then you'll get it. And this is something that you can use for the ofrenda. Ofrenda is used normally in Dia de los Muertos, you guys all know. It's a Mexican history holiday to celebrate and honor and deceased of loved ones. So you can put this in a table and create your own ofrenda if you like. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Miller.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize for not being as responsive as I normally am these 2 weeks while I'm in Montana. Ben, I'll get in touch with you as soon as I get back to get something scheduled so we can meet one-on-one. And Ty, it's been a pleasure to work with you. I really appreciated your logic and common sense, and just overall just working with you. You're just really pleasant to work with, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, well, one, I really want to welcome Molly. She's going to really love Scappoose, and the daughters. I really appreciate it. She sold you so hard during the interview process. Better thank her tremendously. But thank you, Ben. We'll look forward to this next chapter. I do love sharing Scappoose with people and I hope that we get to show you the best of Scappoose too, and we'll work together to make it even better. We do have an LOC convention coming up in October 17, 18, and 19 in Bend. I know Ben, and Jeanette at this time will be there learning about all this, and we'll bring back some good information. Again, it is the time to vote is getting close, so please learn and learn about all our candidates. That should be coming out soon. And again, I do really want to thank Ty Bailey. Just like you said, Scappoose is going in a good direction. You've been a very good steward. You have left Scappoose better off than when you started. You were on council April 24 to present. Budget Committee from 2017 to 2024, and Planning Commission 2022 to April of 2024. You're on School Board Budget Committee. You volunteered your time tremendously in this city, and we're very grateful for that. So we appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, we are now going to move into executive session ORS 192.660-2-F, exempt public records. Representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back in the room. I don't expect any decisions to be made, so we'll come out open session and probably adjourn. Thank you. Everybody in the audience has to leave.